Welcome to Shift Happens, where we discuss all things yoga, creating transformative experiences on the mat, off the mat, and on the path of yoga, with your host, International Yogini, Mimi Adeogba.
Hi, welcome to Shift Happens with your host, Yogini Mimi, where we talk about all things yoga and the experiences on the mat, off the mat, and on the path of yoga. Hello, everybody. Today we have as our guest Dee Wagner, who is a longtime yogini and board-certified dance and movement therapist. She's also a licensed professional counselor who writes and presents on the nervous system and nervous system functioning. Located in Atlanta, Dee has been counseling at the Link Counseling Center for over 25 years. She has her own expressive arts therapy space called Harbor of Dreams Art in Clarkston, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, and is also an Art of Yoga expressive visual art therapist. Welcome to the show, Dee. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. I'm happy that you agreed to join me on this show. Just for our listeners, our audience members, I would love for you to tell them a little bit about yourself in your own words.
Thank you. So, repeating your words, I am a counselor. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm also a board-certified dance therapist, dance movement therapist. And I combine those two things, the counseling and the dance therapy. Often people will say, what is a dance movement therapist? I combine those in terms of being very tuned in to what's happening for people in their bodies. And that can be as subtle as noticing the shape of their body as they're talking about something in the counseling process and maybe making a comment about it. Mm-hmm. I remember saying to a client once, as I look at your body, it kind of looks like you could just fall over into the sofa over there on the right side. And that made them giggle. And they said, yeah, I really feel like I could. And then that helped us move into a conversation about what was happening on that sort of in their rib cage area, on that side in their belly, in their breathing patterns. And as we were able to talk about that, and I began to gently be able to invite them into a movement journey, like what's it like as we call attention to that breath pattern. And then, as they talked about that, my breath, it kind of feels like not okay to breathe. Mm-hmm. Then it was like, well, what does it feel like might be useful? What could we do to help it feel more okay to breathe? And then there was this opening up of this wish for support and this talking about that sort of craving that led to actually kind of letting himself lay onto the sofa. And then it was like, what's it like to invite the sofa to hold you up? Would it be okay? Or would it be not okay? Which is just as useful a piece of information. It does not feel okay. All right. Then what wants to happen next? Well, my hands want to push the sofa away. Well, can we let that happen? So do you see how the dance movement therapy is the invitation of the body to free up movement, to let the body move however it feels like moving, with the ultimate goal of all ways of moving within my own energy sphere are acceptable. Mm-hmm. In other words, I can move fast, I can move slow, I can move big, I can move little, I can move sharp, I can move smooth. That's all okay. Now, if the movement is self-harming, that's another conversation. Mm-hmm. And a curiosity, and why is there not loving kindness towards yourself? Mm-hmm. That gives you a little taste of kind of counseling and dance movement therapy put together. I have practiced yoga forever. And including when I was little, my mom loved dance and yoga, and so she would bring in, at that time, LPs, and she'd play them, and we'd do them as a family. So as a dance therapist, I have used yoga with clients for years. And another thing I've done along the way is working with couples and then more and more in individual work on these palm-to-palm dances. Almost now, every client I have, at some point, I will let them push into my palms with the palms of their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And often if they come in for counseling, they're sitting on the sofa. If we're doing some yoga, I invite them to the floor. So with the pelvis anchored, with the sits bones reaching down into whatever, the sofa, the floor, when you push,
Mm-hmm.
you feel you. I invite people, I'll say, can you feel how when you push into something, you find yourself? Because it engages the core. And so it's a very powerful experience, this push. So over the years, I've begun inviting romantic couples to explore these palm-to-palm dances. The first time I did it, I invited this couple to put their hands together and explore pressure. Sometimes just like such light pressure they could barely feel each other, and other times the push.
Mm-hmm.
And just notice what they noticed.
It's that intimacy, that connection.
Yes, thank you for chiming in. I don't mean to go on and on. That led, so this palm-to-palm work I've done over the years has led to the creation of a partner practice. My romantic partner and I do yoga together, and we love being in a class side by side. And we've talked about what it's like to do yoga next to your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And then I began incorporating these intimate palm-to-palm explorations with couples. So they start side by side on their, like my dance frame, your dance frame, my yoga mat, your yoga mat. And then, but the mats touch nose to nose. And so then the slow movement into the palm-to-palm work, the mindfulness of the energetic dance of relationship. It's a long story of a little of who I am.
Oh, it's a beautiful story. I'm captivated by it. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So you said your mother brought dance and yoga into your life at a very, very early age. What about dance? Have you been a dancer? Did you explore dance? What kind of dance did you do? And how long did you do it?
I've done a little bit of almost every kind of dance in my life. All the people in my family, everyone has at some point danced or taught dance. So I first started with the traditional tap ballet jazz, and continued that. In high school, I was on the drill team, and then along the way, ballroom. When I was 12, my mom taught me ballroom dancing, all kinds of exercise. My undergrad degree is theater, and I did a lot of musicals. And for 30 years, I choreographed the musicals at a high school in Atlanta. So for musicals, all kinds of dance, from square dancing to ballet, jazz. I encouraged my school to do. So we did. I can't think of the name of it. It's the why can't I think of it? Anyway, hip hop musical. Why can't I think of it? Anyway, Latin dancing. I do Latin dancing. I love African dancing, tap dancing.
You've done it all.
I have done a little bit of absolutely everything.
Hip hop too. That's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that.
I don't know why I cannot think of his name.
Well, tell you what, in the middle of the interview, it's going to pop into your head.
That's right.
And at that moment, just say it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that brings me to the question of the moment. This show is about yoga, and it's for yoginis and people, everybody who's on the path. And those people who are not on the path often come to a point where they ask themselves, what is yoga? And more in the West, I've been asking this question because I spent the last 2 years in India learning the traditional path of yoga. And when I came back to the U.S., I saw booty yoga, trap yoga, goat yoga, beer yoga, chicken yoga. And so I'm now inviting yoginis to share their perspective. So would you share with the audience, what is yoga to you?
Yes, absolutely. What a beautiful question. And also let me say, I love shift happens.
Yes.
Evolved meaning in that, and
Thank you.
that invitation for small shifts of re-yoking the mind, which of course is more than the head brain, and the body. As you named, I'm a nervous system expert, and particularly polyvagal theory, which is Stephen Porges' discoveries about the ventral vagal nerve, about the whole vagal nerve, which serves the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms the body down. So the yoga community is very interested in this science around the vagus nerve. So this slow shift, not looking for a quick fix. So the opposite of what people go seeking when they get into addictive patterns. I want a quick fix. This slow and gentle invitation of a re-yoking, that invites this healthier kind of what's part of the ventral vagus nerve, this kind of nervous system functioning that Porges calls our social engagement system. And the dance of Purusha and Prakriti. So speaking of going back to the roots of yoga, Purusha is that essence. It's everything. It's essence. It's kind of, in quantum physics, I think of it as the field. And the Prakriti is the awareness. So when we're born, this is dance therapist talk. When we're born, we don't know ourselves from anything else. It's fun to watch a baby discover that its hand belongs to it. Look at that thing. What is that thing? It keeps flying around my face. And slowly there is awareness. Slowly there is Prakriti. There's some sense I can control that thing. And the firing of our nerves that flexes our muscle and moves our bones, that is the yoking. That is the awareness, the Prakriti, that gathers the Purusha to make the unique wave that I am in the ocean of waves. How we do those earliest infant dances affects our nervous system, affects how much we're able to be in that social engagement system kind of nervous system functioning. So yoga, coming to the mat, coming to a practice, even coming to a Tai Chi practice, a meditation practice, a dance therapy experience, and inviting these shifts, these gentle shifts. That's what yoga is to me.
That is beautiful. Very beautifully stated. I'm just reflecting upon it now, just because you talked about Purusha and Prakriti, and I think that yoga is this awareness of more than just the asana, and how people are, in the West primarily, relating to yoga as that. If you look at Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the asana is just 1/8 of the whole picture, and many of us are saying that that is yoga. And I was having a conversation with some other yoginis, and one said, it seems like in the West, we should have been calling it asana all these years, because that's what everybody's doing with the selfies and the self-portraits and beautiful pictures of poses. Whereas yoga is all of these things that you explained, where the Purusha is that selfless non-duality, that just isness, and the Prakriti is the matter, and all of these things coming together. And on the path of yoga, working towards moving beyond all of the physical parts, which are the first 5 in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, into the more metaphysical parts, spirit, mind, and elevating ourselves to realizing this oneness and accepting this oneness. And like you said, not the quick fixes, but the slow, deliberate, intentional, mindful progress and evolution.
And for our corporeal existence, this corporeal body we have is our home. Our unique wave, if we truly become one and join all other waves, we leave the corporeal body. So the nervous system science is helping us identify how we leave our bodies. It's how we eventually die. It's also a state that therapists, counselors, dance therapists, social workers, people who do work with trauma have identified for a long time, called dissociation. And dissociation is probably what's going on when people name a feeling of depression. If I'm not in my body, it's hard to move it. When I walk into the counselor's therapist's office, and some people come to my office not knowing ahead of time I'm a dance therapist, they've just come to the community counseling agency, oh my, I can't get myself out of bed. And well, if you're not in your body, it's hard to get out of bed. So this mindful balance that is possible with the ventral vagal nerve functioning is very much based on relationship with other humans and how those dances wire us. When, in fact, Purusha is got a masculine identity associated with it. I like to think of that simply in terms of testosterone. We all have testosterone in us. Prakriti is considered feminine because that awareness is like a womb. It's like an egg. It's a cocoon. It's the holder of the testosterone. And I like to think of Prakriti in terms of the body's oxytocin, which is a neuropeptide that is part of the mothering experience. It's also part of being with nature, being with animals. It's part of making love. So this dance of Purusha and Prakriti is replicated in the dance of the newly formed womb being and the womb. And then this body we come out of in this period, which counselors are beginning to identify, of the first 3 years, which is like we're little Joeys. We need a pouch. And so there's this push that is so crucial to how we yoke our aliveness in this corporeal existence to this corporeal body. It's this push out from the core, up and out the head, out the arms, out the legs. It's downward facing dog.
Yeah. I love how you tie it all together. Thank you so much.
Sure. You're welcome.
Speaking of downward facing dog, I like to throw this one extra question in there. What is your favorite asana?
I think because I have developed this partner practice, these new movements, these palm-to-palm movements and palm-to-palm exploration are becoming my favorite new asanas. These, and of course, there's the whole kriya aspect. The people who like the kriya, the movement from asana to asana, or movement within an asana. I told you, I haven't announced it here in our talk, but I told you ahead of time that 3 articles that I've written are in the Asana International Yoga Journal. They're on the website. One has to do with what's called movement and stillness, a dance therapist's kriya. And I talk about my appreciation of movement in every quote unquote still position, because we're moving all the time. Our heart's beating, our blood's pumping. So we are never not moving. Whether we are moving in a way that the world notices or not, whether we are purposefully moving with the breath in a mindful kriya, we're always moving. The other article, I have 3, but the other one that relates to our conversation is about balance. And the idea is that we do not need to seek balance. When we are operating in that social engagement system way, our bodies naturally balance themselves. So this dance where you are facing another person and they are yoking their own mind and body and you are yoking yours. So I do a pose called the intentional peaceful warrior. Your toe is facing your partner, so you're aimed facing your partner. Now, if you did a full expression of the peaceful warrior, the same hand as toe would arc up, and you would be pushing your rib cage towards your partner, and they would be pushing their ribs to them. So you don't go that far. You simply lift the hand as if you were intending to go into peaceful warrior, which, think about it in relationships, a good idea to intend to be peaceful. Mm-hmm. Your hand comes up only to eye level, and that allows you to focus on the palm of your hand. But through your fingers, you peripherally see this other being. So I invite people from practice to practice. As you are aware of you and your yoking today, now, in this moment, do you lose awareness of your partner? As you begin to have awareness of your partner peripherally through your fingers, do you lose awareness of you? That dance of energy where I'm able to hold on to myself and manage, yoke my energy in a way that keeps me in social engagement system functioning, while also being mindful of someone else doing their own process, feels to me like the wave of the future, the practice of the future. This mindful yoking and aware of other people's journey with their yoking feels super duper important right now.
And what was the name of that second article?
It's we don't need to seek balance. I don't know if that's the exact title.
I'm sure we can find it by going to Asana InternationalYogaJournal.com.
Yes.
Okay.
D. Wagner. Yes. Sorry,
D. Wagner.
Thinking of names right with me today.
That's perfectly all right. During our pre-call discussion, you mentioned a couple of other things, and I'm going to wrap up the show now, but I wanted to find out from you if there's anything else that you wanted our audience to know about you, where to find you, how to contact you if they're interested in dance movement therapy.
Mm-hmm. So the website for the new space, harborofdreamsart.com.
Okay.
You can leave a message for me there.
And your contact information is at harborofdreamsart.com.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I also have a Facebook page that's just D. Wagner. So that's another way someone could reach me.
Thank you, D. Wagner, for joining us on this call. It was such a pleasure having you and sharing your perspective of what is yoga.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Namaste. And this has been Shift Happens with your host, Yogini Mimi. Have a beautiful day.
Namaste.
You've been listening to Shift Happens with international yogini Mimi Adeyokba. To learn how to build your own yoga brand while creating transformative learning experiences for others, or to listen to past episodes, go to yoginimimi.com.